everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Semi Adulting with Makiya Vonyia. I'm Makiya, and this is the podcast where we discuss navigating the ups and downs of early adulthood in today's world. And y'all, I'm so happy to be back here with y'all today. I'm so happy to be getting back into my groove and in my bag and all that stuff. It feels good to be able to do something that I truly enjoy doing, which is filming this podcast for you all, and just being able to express myself freely and create a community of like-minded people where there's no judgment and we can kind of share life experiences as we're going through this life together just makes me feel whole. And so, yeah, I hope you all have been well. I hope that the last couple of weeks have treated you well. I love that y'all enjoyed the last episode. And thank you all so much for all the likes, the comments, and even the shares on Instagram and other social media. I really appreciate that so much. And to that, if you are not following the podcast on Instagram, please make sure you are following at Semi Adulting with Makiya Vonyia on Instagram. That's the official Instagram for this podcast. And I plan on posting a whole lot more content on there, especially since I'm only posting a podcast episode once every 2 weeks. So to stay updated and to stay in the loop and stay engaged with the pod, go ahead and follow us over there on Instagram at Semi Adulting with Makiya Vonyia. If you're watching on YouTube, I will have it on the screen here for you. Speaking of YouTube girlies have been showing out. The YouTube girlies have been showing out and showing love, okay? Because we are almost at 500 subscribers, y'all. Like, yay! Give it up for yourselves. I really appreciate all the love and all the support. Like I said, in all the shares that you all have been doing for the podcast for me, I really do appreciate and love each and every one of y'all. So if you have not already subscribed, make sure you hit the subscribe button and click the bell next to it so that you are notified every time a new episode of Semi Adulting drops. Like I said, we're taking over Sundays with Semi Adulting Sundays every other Sunday. Damn, how many times can I say Sunday? Every other Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern. So make sure that you'll have that bell on and that you are notified. That way you can get your popcorn ready, your little wine, whatever you need to get your week started off right. Okay. Because we're doing a reset on Sundays. Okay. Period. Do not watch the pod on YouTube, or if you're more of my on the go kind of girl, this podcast is available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So make sure you all tune in there. If you can't catch the video version of the podcast on YouTube, you can always tune in on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Um yeah. Also, I just want to throw in a little disclaimer because y'all know I got to do my disclaimer every episode. Everything stated in this podcast is strictly my opinion. I'm not an expert. I'm just simply sharing my opinion based on my personal experience, okay? So, yeah. So today's episode is titled Dating Sucks. And I know what you're thinking, like, girl, we just had Valentine's Day. Like, what are you talking about? Dating sucks. Like, the girls is out here getting wined and dined and taking on trips and all types of stuff. And you sitting up here talking about something you hate dating or dating sucks. Yeah, girl. I am. I am. I hate to be a party pooper, but I just feel like it needs to be discussed. Okay. Dating in this generation is a lot. There's a lot that goes into it. And so we're going to break some of that down today. I'm trying not to make this podcast too long for y'all, but we're going to go ahead and get into it. So, as I mentioned, well, so if you were following the podcast Instagram, again, it's at Semi Adulting with Makiya Vonyia. I posted a question the other day just to get y'all's opinion on it. And the question was, do you think that social media ruins relationships? And I did get a few good responses on that. So shout out to all y'all that were commented on the post and put in your input on it, because y'all have some really good points. And we're gonna get into it in a minute. So what inspired me to even discuss this topic today was There was a clip. I was scrolling on Instagram. I'll be scrolling on Instagram. One thing about me, I'm gonna scroll. Okay. So I was scrolling on Instagram and there was a reel that had a clip from a specific podcast. I don't know the exact podcast, but if I can find the clip, I'm gonna put it up and insert it into the video. Um, that way that y'all can understand what I'm talking about. But there was a woman, she was being interviewed on a podcast. I don't know who this woman is. I don't know if she's a content creator, whatever. I don't know what she does. But she made the statement that people who make $50,000 or less a year should not be dating. And it just kind of got me thinking about like the whole podcast culture when it comes to relationships, because it's like everywhere we look on social media, whether it be Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, somebody's always trying to tell us what to do in a relationship. If you don't do this, your man's gonna leave. If your man's doing this, he's cheating on you. If he's doing that, that means he don't like you for real. And then somebody will literally post another video saying the exact opposite of what that other creator just said. So I wanted to kind of discuss dating in a sense, and of course, throw my own like personal experience in there because I know I touched on it a little bit in the last episode. So if you haven't watched the last episode, make sure y'all go catch up, because what are you doing? Like, you haven't watched the last episode, what you gonna tune into? Please move in order. No, no, I'm just playing. No, I'm just playing. But yeah, in the last podcast episode that I did, I kind of touched on my kind of dating life right now. Y'all know I'm single. But but I kind of touched on, you know, why I've been single and things like that. But I think that there's a lot of confusion, especially in our generation, of what dating is and what it should and should not be. I think that the lines of dating, the boundaries, like the stages of dating, have been forgotten. Like, I think people. So here's how it's been going as of lately. People will meet and they'll start talking. Like, you have this whole talking stage, right? But in that talking stage, it could lead to situationships, friends with benefits, things like that, that are not necessarily going anywhere or are productive, or things like that. So you kind of get stuck in that cycle of, yeah, we're talking da da da, but now y'all are friends with benefits, y'all doing other things, but y'all don't really have a title, but y'all really like each other, and it's like, okay, but what are we doing? You know what I'm saying? So I think a lot of times that gets lost, and it gets not lost, it gets confusing. um I think that for me, like, I'm gonna give y'all my breakdown of what I think my definition of dating is. So for me, I think dating is when two people have a mutual interest in each other, and y'all are doing things, y'all hanging out, y'all might be going out, y'all might be going out cute little dates and all that stuff, and y'all are getting to know each other, but there's no like, nobody has said like, okay, we're in an exclusive relationship. Um, to me, the talking stage to me is like literally just being friends. Like, that's how I view the talking stage. Dating is more so like, okay, now you're actually going on dates, there's courting involved. But I think that since there is a lack of courting in this generation, like, everything everything just gets thrown everywhere. Like, it's a mess. It's a hot mess. It's a dumpster fire. It's a dumpster fire. Because there's no boundaries anymore. And then also too, I think that um there's no boundaries. And when there's no boundaries, like, like there's no what's the word? There's no consequences for certain actions. I feel like a lot of times people don't know how to set proper boundaries when dating. Um and therefore they end up with all these additional, like, you end up putting expectations on people that they never even agreed to. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've done it before myself, where it's like, Okay, I've been talking to somebody. We are, getting to know each other. We may or may not have done some things, child. I'm not gonna put all my business out there. But now I feel like there should be an expectation of them to like want to be my man, right? But that's not always the case because it's just like you're not allowing yourself time to get to know each other. Y'all are just jumping off the deep end really quick. And I think that's something that I had to learn and adjust my mindset to, because it's like if I want a long term, like long standing relationship, I can't move so fast. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't just be out here moving fast. You gotta like take your time to get to know a person and see if that's somebody that A, you want in your life, and B, you can see being in your life long term. You can deal with certain things when it comes to people, because like you have to realize, like, with relationships and with marriages, love is a choice. I feel like you wake up and you continue to choose this person every day. It's not You're not always gonna like them, you're not always gonna like their ways, but when you love somebody, you continue to choose them. And I think that with social media, we are wired to look for this instant gratification, that it's like, okay, if they're not giving it to me, I'm gonna go to somebody else. We're not gonna make this work. I'm not gonna try to make this work with you. I'm done with you. You're not doing this. You're not, you know what I'm saying? We're just on to the next, instead of actually giving people a chance to show you who they are. Um, and actually get to know them and actually love them for who they are, and instead of what they can do for us. And I think that a lot of times, because of that confusion, we really just don't know how to move, right? We're constantly just being fed information left and right on social media, through music, through movies, all types of stuff. The media as a whole is consistently feeding us misinformation, I would say. Um because it's like, it feels like dating in this generation is very much transactional. Like, it's almost like if you want to date somebody, it's more so like, okay, well, what do you have? What do you have that I want? And if you don't have what I want, then I'm not dating you. A lot of it is monetary and a lot of it is materialistic. It's not like, okay, well, what do you bring to the table? Like, are you emotionally stable? Can you communicate well? Like, what are those things that I could, not gain from, but benefit from by being with you? Everything these days is more so like, oh, if he ain't got no money, if he ain't tricking, he ain't doing all this, he ain't buying me shoes, he ain't sending me money on Cash App, he ain't nothing. It's like, that's not how dating is supposed to be. Dating is not supposed to be a transactional experience when it comes to money and all that stuff. Don't get me wrong. As a woman, I feel like if a real man, if he really likes you, of course he's going to do things for you. But it shouldn't be like your first. I feel like you shouldn't ask a man first off bat, how much money you got? Can you cash at me? Like, I feel like as women, we kind of have to move with a little bit more integrity about ourselves. I think a lot of us in this generation have either lost the determination or the drive to be ambitious or whatever, and just, you want to be like a city girl, you want to have this man that just, but everybody just want a sugar daddy, right? And I'm not saying all, I shouldn't say everybody. Some girls just want a sugar daddy. They the same girls that is like screaming out like, "Oh, I need you to pay my bills." Da, 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 da. And they want them sugar daddies. They also in turn talk about how much they want to be in love, and it's like, ma'am, do you want to be in love or do you want this man's money, or are you in love with the money? Like, what are we doing? So I think that a lot of times, like with us being like confused, like, it's hard, especially for the good. I'm not gonna say the good ones, but it's kind of hard for the rest of us to like move and to experience like real love, and experience and have a full like dating experience. Like, I've talked to my mom and my aunt a lot about dating, and I'm like, there's a lot of times where I've just been like, dating sucks, like I hate dating, like I don't want to do this. This is not fun. And that's simply because I feel like hurt people hurt people. And so I think it's a cyclical thing. Like I feel like it started, a man probably hurt a girl or a woman, and a woman, she decided, all right, I'm gonna get my lick back. And then this cycle just continues, and it spirals out of control and creates this like toxic cycle. Like, and now we're stuck in the cycle of toxicity. It is like, why do we have to be here? So I think that with that type of culture that we have, along with the other toxicity that has been normalized, which I think should not be normalized, I think that our view of dating has been skewed in this generation. And when I say normalizing toxic relationships, like for one, Blueface and Krishan, I feel like, I kid you not, and maybe y'all feel the same too if y'all are active on social media, or have Instagram and all that stuff. When I tell you, I feel like I saw something about Blueface and Krishan literally every day, maybe for the last 2 years. Like, and it's so sad how much toxic and toxicity gets promoted on social media versus what actual real healthy love looks like with boundaries. Everybody's pushing this toxicity. Oh, it's cute. It's all of a sudden it's cute for you and your man to be arguing online. It's cute for your man to be cheating on you and you take him back every 5 seconds and now you got to tell the world. All that is cute, right? Now, and it's like, I never understood that. Like, don't get me wrong. I feel like everybody had in some point in their life has been toxic to somebody else, me included. Like, I'm not perfect, but I feel like it's just to the point to where people think it's okay, and it doesn't feel like anybody's growing mentally, or even have the self-awareness to want to grow in that, and to be better than that. So yeah, I think that a lot of times social media can ruin relationships. And so that's why I asked that question on Instagram. I just wanted to get y'all thoughts and opinions on it. And I'm gonna read a couple of y'all comments um in a few minutes, but I kind of wanted to dive into like my own personal experience with dating so y'all can get the tea. Okay. So um, I feel like personally, social media has affected my relationships, um, in the past, um, in multiple ways. I think that a lot of times social media, it's easy for everybody to compare themselves, and so a lot of times you see like couples on Instagram, and it looks like they're having the time of their life, right? So you see the money, you see the trips, you see the pictures, all they look cozy, like, and you're like, I want that. Like, I want my person. And then you also see on the flip side of that, like I was just saying, Krishan and Blueface fighting every day, like literally abusing each other every day. And I think that in my case, I had a lot of like imposter syndrome because I felt like a lot of times I hadn't been in a healthy relationship to where I was like, secure, happy and all that. Like I have not experienced that, right? So when I look on social media, for me it's like, dang, this is the life that I want. I want to get married, I want to have kids, I want to have a house with picket fence and a dog and all that. All the dreamy stuff that we girls dream about. Well, some of us girls. So I think that sometimes when we have these false expectations of what a relationship is and what a relationship should look like, I think that we are extra hard on ourselves when we don't have that, or we feel like we can't find that. But I also feel like too that online dating is not the key. Like, I feel like dating online is really not the key. And if you know, you know. But I personally, I feel like I've been on all the apps: BLK, Tinder, Bumble, Facebook dating, child. Facebook dating, if you're on Facebook dating, Facebook dating is a mess. Facebook should have never created a dating app. I promise you they should not have. But I think that with social media and with technology in general, like it causes a lack of humanity in a sense. Like you don't really have the same level of, I don't know, I guess attraction like online. Like you can be attracted to somebody's words is what I've learned. But then when you meet them and you see them, you're like, this ain't that, sir. Like this ain't that. And so, like I said earlier, I did make a post on Instagram asking you all if you thought that social media ruins relationships or like if how y'all felt about it. And I'm gonna read a couple of the comments because y'all had some great points. A lot of y'all had like similar opinions. So I'm glad to see this is kind of like across the board. And a lot of it I do agree with, and I'm gonna expand on it in a minute. So I'm not going to be saying anybody's names because I didn't get any consent to say anybody's names. But again, so the question was, do you think social media ruins relationships? So the first comment I got says, nah, the making and ruining of a relationship lies with the people involved. I feel communication and maturity make the difference, which is true. I feel like I feel like when two people can actually communicate and talk and be mature and know what they got going on and don't need external validation from social media, I think that makes the difference in dating a lot of times, um, or all the time, really, because I feel like a lot of people now are just so consumed by this social media life, like content creation. Like, don't get me wrong, I love being a content creator, but I love being a content creator, but I'm not ever gonna push like anything wrong or negative or anything like that. Like that's just not me. Like I want to use my platform to be productive and positive and uplift all of us, right? But I think that a lot of times people get sucked into this fantasy of social media. You see people with millions of dollars, like driving around their Mercedes and they making all this stuff. And then in their relationships, you see, oh, they're whining and dining, they're taking trips, they're going to Tulum, da, da, da. This is what I want to do with my man. And then like I said, on the flip side, you have Krishana Blueface, everybody beating each other up. But I think that when you have people who are mature enough to realize that a lot of times social media is not real. Like I say this all the time, social media is not real. Um, because you don't know what's going on behind closed doors. I think that's what makes a difference in if social media would be detrimental to your relationship or not. I'm gonna read another comment. It says, I believe it depends on the people, honestly. It has the potential to ruin relationships depending on how it is being used. Are the partners open with one another regarding their social media content? Are there boundaries? Are they making their partner's presence known? That's a good point. That's a good point right there. I do believe that I don't feel like your relationship should be a secret, but I also don't feel like it should not be known that you're in a relationship. And I think a lot of times this is where things get messy on the internet when people are in relationships. Like some girls, they really like, I've never been this way, right? Okay, like this is not me, but I've talked to multiple people who have experiences. It's like, oh yeah, I want to be posted all on your Instagram. Da, da, we need to have pictures together. You post me on your story. Da, 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 da. I think that kind of mindset comes from a place of insecurity. Because I feel like if you're with somebody, they gonna make sure that other people know that y'all together. You know what I'm saying? Like, you ain't gotta post me on your Instagram, but you know what it is, and everybody else know what it is too, right? Because there's that boundary there. I do think that there should be conversations had about like what type of content is being posted, because I feel like too, if you're in a relationship, you don't need to be posting nothing that is like in regards to being single. Like, period. I don't feel like that. Like, don't be posting like single stuff. Um and then while you're in a whole relationship, because that, I feel like, draws in like the wrong type of attention, and then it can lead to things like cheating, infidelity, all that stuff, right? So I think that there's definitely should be boundaries there, and there should be a discussion about what is being posted on social media. Especially if you're more private like me, a lot of times people don't even want people in their business. Like, that's the big thing. I don't want nobody in my business. I don't need nobody to know like what I'm doing, who I'm doing it with, like none of that. Like, I think that that is an important piece of the conversation to have as well. And then the last comment that I'm going to read says, I truly think it depends on the person. I feel like if both partners are communicating with each other what they like versus what they dislike about what one may do on social media, then the relationship should be fine. But I do think social media nowadays plays a major role in relationships, which is why people need to talk more, especially when people are wanting to be seen. Girl, you broke that down. Okay. That I love that comment so much. I love that comment so much because it's facts. Like, I think that takes out the social media and dating online and all that technology stuff takes out, like I said earlier, the humanistic piece of being in a relationship, because it takes out the communicating. Like, nobody's talking to each other face to face. Nobody is having real raw conversations with each other anymore. Everybody's just seeing everything on social media, seeing what other people do, not knowing what's actually going on behind closed doors, making assumptions, and then moving how, or attempting to move how somebody else is moving without even communicating with their partner first about like how they feel. I think a lot of times people lack that, because of social media, people lack communication skills. And it's crazy because you would think that social media would promote better communication. But to be honest, the whole thing with communicating through technology is like a lot of things can be misconstrued. People can perceive things or take things the wrong way easily on social media. So all these comments are great comments. And I really appreciate everybody that dropped their opinion. Like I said, if you haven't followed the podcast Instagram, follow us at Semi Adulting with Makiya Vonyia. I'll definitely be posting more of these questions as the podcast episodes get rolling. So I would love to hear y'all thoughts on them. But yeah, so I'm going to keep this podcast short, sweet, and to the point, and just say that I think that social media can, it does have the ability to ruin relationships, but I don't think it has to. I think that dating should be fun. I think it should be more courting. I think it should be more going outside of the house. Nobody wants to Netflix and chill all day. I'm sorry. That's just, well, at least I don't. I don't want to Netflix and chill all day. I don't want to do something at your house that I can do at my house for free. Okay. Like, take me out. Uh and it don't have to be nothing expensive or any of that. Um but I do think that we kind of need to step out or step away from our phones and our laptops and our devices and actually be human for once and talk to each other. That way we can have a more fulfilling dating experience and actually get to know somebody and appreciate people for who they actually are, and not put outside expectations on them based off what we see on social media. So, yeah, that is going to wrap up today's podcast episode, y'all. I try to keep it short and sweet and to the point, because I don't know. I'm trying to keep my podcast between 30 and 45 minutes per episode. But yeah, let me know what y'all think down in the comments on YouTube. Again, make sure you're liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel. And make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss when I upload new podcast episodes. Also, if you are listening on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, make sure you save this podcast to your favorites. That way, every time I drop a new post, you get notified. It pops up on your phone real cute. Semi adulting just dropped. But yeah, no, that is all that I have for this episode, y'all. Please, please, please make sure to leave your comments down below. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Go ahead and share it. And I will see y'all in 2 weeks. Love y'all. Bye.